About a year ago, I was introduced to True Niagen, a supplement specifically designed to boost a key cellular resource called NAD. That's short for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. And I was really impressed with the research that showed that increased NAD levels can promote cellular repair, maintain healthy mitochondria, and increase energy throughout the trillions of cells in our body. I've been taking True Niagen ever since, and I am truly persuaded, which is why I'm so excited to welcome them back to the program. Let's get into how True Niagen works. From age 40 to 60, humans can experience a 50% decline in NAD, leaving our cells with a shortage of that incredibly valuable energy resource. Additionally, things like immune stress, poor diet, even alcohol consumption can all deplete our cell NAD levels. Research suggests that increased NAD can support cellular defense against these physiological stressors. True Niagen is designed to boost NAD levels and is backed by clinical research and regulatory approvals. Now, while the research is still evolving, I am truly impressed by the possibilities surrounding NAD and the research behind True Niagen. And I suggest you check out their information for yourself. To learn more about the research, science, and to order your supply of True Niagen supplement, visit drdrew.com/TrueNiagen and use the code DREW at checkout for a special discount on orders of 3 bottles or more. So that's my website, drdrew.com/TRUNIAGEN, and use the code DREW today.
Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Hey there.
I'm wondering if everybody could hear those ads in the...
Let us know if you were hearing the sound on those ads we just ran there. I want to remind everybody, thank you for, if you were here yesterday, for getting us through an event that was rather extraordinary. The one and only Andy Dick with us. Catherine Alberson is saying that she heard that President Trump is taking hydroxychloroquine. I'd love to hear more about that. And Downtown Trash, I like your... Give me the dose monikers there. Very well done. Don't forget, I'll be on tonight on Channel 11 here locally in Los Angeles. You can get it at the Facebook, Fox LA Facebook page as well. We're following TMZ. We got a lot to get into tonight on that show. We are particularly clear.
Something got like turned down here. Very strange.
Still no sound.
Give it a second.
No sound.
Oh, jeez. What the heck?
There you go. Yes, sound.
Okay, the sound came back.
Sound back.
It's on a little bit of a delay. I think I don't know what happened. It just turned off.
All right, so let me...
Okay, start at the Fox News thing again.
Yeah, as I was saying, tonight at 7 Pacific on Fox News. You can find it on their Fox LA Facebook page as well. We're going to be focusing on Riverside County. And Riverside County has asked the state of California for a dispensation to reconsider, for at least for a county that size, some of their criteria, which are unattainable. One of them, for instance, is no COVID deaths for 14 days, which I dare say we are months and months and months away from that, and may never attain it until 100% of the population is vaccinated, because some people are going to take the vaccine. So there are still going to be people getting COVID and dying of COVID long after we have the vaccine. So I don't know what they're talking about. So we're going to talk to some of those Riverside County Board of Supervisors, see if we can get some clarification on that. Don't forget After Dark with me, Christina P. and Tom Segura. Also, You can, and the Adam and Drew Show, we're doing that 3 days a week right now, maybe up to 5 soon. Anything else, Susan, I missed here? True Niagen, of course, our friends that support the show. I'm on that product and have been for years, and I am persuaded that NAD is a important part of our aging process as well. It might have something to do with COVID infection too. There's some recent data about that.
Okay, I've made all the mistakes now, so we can actually take our guests and feel confident.
All right, before we bring the guests in, let me do a very quick review of what's available to me on the University of Washington website. They have not, I'm looking at it right now, they have not updated their data in over 7 days. So last update was May 10th. It is now, of course, May 18th. And I can't tell you whether we're on track or not. There is always the COVIDtracking.com, COVID tracking project, and there it looks like things are declining, but that's a hard one for me to interpret the way they present their data. I'm sorry about that. But let's take a quick look at Georgia, which we've all said would be our canary in the coal mine. If Georgia does okay, because they picked the exact wrong moment to open up. So if they open up in a while cases are increasing, that's evidence, not proof, but evidence that lockdown may not be superior to social distancing. So wearing your mask and social distancing may accomplish the same thing. Right now, looks like they're way down, 1,000, 1,600. Let me just see if I can figure that out from what I've got. 1,000 and 1,600. 1 second. They had 1,600 in the daily deaths are around 20. This is Georgia now. Yeah, they are. Their total deaths are about what are predicted, and their hospitalization rate. Let's see if I can get that out of this data. Is about where they predicted it. So the previous model that the COVID-19 healthdata.org had presented does suggest that Georgia is on track to essentially the same data as if they had not opened up. So that's interesting. We'll see if that gets adjusted by those people. So that's about all I have for you. Unfortunately, I don't have any new data. Let me look at your stream here before I bring my guests in. Trump says he's taking hydroxychloroquine as prophylaxis per his White House doctor. Andrew Al-Kashvili, who's always provides us some interesting information. I trust that is coming from you is accurate information. And not surprising, a lot of people, doctors themselves, are taking hydroxychloroquine for prophylaxis. The interesting question, Andrew, is he also taking zinc? That would be interesting as well. You read, looking at Bob Plain, that Georgia is lying about their data. I don't know anything about that, and I don't know quite what that implies or where the lying would be coming in, because I'm not looking at their data. I'm looking at the models more from the University of Washington, comparing it with the data at COVID Tracking Project, who's a pretty good source of data. He's also taking zinc, Catherine is saying. So that's very interesting. If I were his doctor, that's what I would do. I prescribed probably 1,000 patient months of Plaquenil or hydroxychloroquine in my career. Never seen a side effect. And I've used it in COVID repeatedly. And sometimes I'm convinced it's doing something. Not great, but something. All right, let's bring our guests in. We, as you know, we like highlighting charities, and today it is America Strong. They have a wristband challenge. The brains behind that is actually PJ Schrantz and his daughter. America Strong is the organization, and one of the organizations they are providing resources to is Aiming High Foundation. And of course, the one and only Darren Prince, who's with us as well, is the driving force behind the Aiming High Foundation. PJ, Darren, welcome.
Well, thank you, Dr. Drew. Thank you for having us. This is PJ Schrantz. And once again, thank you for this opportunity. I do have to make a correction. It's my daughter, Dakota, who's listening in. And this is her idea. She's the one behind this. And she came up with this idea to raise awareness, to honor the heroes, COVID-19 heroes, and to unify the country. And she came to me and said, Dad, with your company, my partner, John Leggy, who's out in California, I'm on the East Coast, said, I have this idea, and I want to raise money for charity. And it was behind the Lance Armstrong theme, the yellow wristband. And I wore one of those Livestrong bands for years to honor my son, her brother, Dakota's brother, who died at 7 years old of leukemia. And she never forgot that. And this is the millennials 9/11, and she knew her dad was at Ground Zero. I'm a retired New York City fireman. And I said we would definitely support such an effort. And my partner John owned the trademark to America Strong, and he said, why don't we make it an America Strong challenge, this wristband challenge? And Dakota's going to be the face of this. This is her baby. And she lost her voice. She can't get on this now. And she said, let's raise money for charities, worthy COVID-19 related charities. And naturally, Darren's charity was the first one I thought of because, as you know better than anyone, Dr. Drew, drug and alcohol addiction has skyrocketed during this pandemic, and Darren's Aiming High Foundation helps with financial aid, and we're raising money for Aiming High. And the Gary Sinise Foundation, very worthy, 9/11, first responder, military, now COVID, PPE, they give, and the National Foundation for Infectious Disease, which brings awareness and education on these infectious diseases throughout the country. So
how's it going?
It's, believe it or not, we have the website up. It's up running today. This is our launch right here, and we couldn't be happier that it was on your show, Dr. Drew, because you might not remember me, but I was on a show once with you, and we were talking about addiction and everything, because I'm all about that with our veterans. And Darren and I, we've gotten together a bunch of times. Darren spoke at, we had my charity, which I didn't want to be part of this because ethically it's just not right. So we chose 3 charities that I have nothing to do with. And Darren had spoken at my charity's inaugural fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago last February. And he's an amazing man. I love him to death. He goes from being this Hollywood mega agent to every day helping out people battling addiction, just like you do, Dr. Drew. You guys do God's work. So, the most recent person that we helped, Darren and I reached out to Darren, 3-time medevac combat veteran, got addicted to drugs, and he got into some trouble. He's facing 25 years in prison, and we convinced the judge to get him into treatment instead, and now he's got 10 months sober. He's all about helping others.
It's great.
Darren, Darren was the biggest part of that.
Darren, you there?
I'm here, Dr. Drew. How are you?
Good. Tell us about Aiming High.
So the Aiming High Foundation is exactly what PJ said. It's about giving people a second chance on life and really turning your bottom, as we say, into a brand new beginning. No matter what walk of life you've come to or come from, we're out there hustling every day, trying to raise funds and bringing as much as we can awareness-wise, financially, because there's no greater privilege, whether it's a phone call, an email, a social media message, or when I'm speaking to, see the lights come on in somebody's eyes from a message that I was taught from other spiritual brothers and sisters, and they're ready to face their demons. And like I always like to say, take those darkest of days and bring on the brightest of lights.
And you've been there. Your book talks about it. Yes?
And it doesn't matter where they're from, whatever state they're in. We use 100% of the proceeds to put them in treatment, detox them, get any type of psychotherapy, because as you and I talk about all the time, it's not just about the 28-day treatment and getting sober. It's what you got to do to stay sober when you leave the facility.
That's right. Staying that way. That is the hardest part. Maintenance. Hey, I just want to do a quick. Go ahead, PJ.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that, we all know that, we have this wristband challenge, and if people go to www.americastrong.usa.com and take the challenge, what we're doing is we're trying to motivate people, not just to get one on their wrist. You know, it's $5, but we want them to buy two, and then bestow a gift of their covert hero. It could, I don't care if it's the girl that packs your groceries at the stores there, the essential worker, a cop, a fireman, a doctor, a nurse, and wear it to honor the people that are still struggling in the darkness, that they're battling their addictions and their demons because they're isolating.
Well, yeah, the two thing that's happening.
Pandemic.
Yeah, so what's happening now is the isolation is making things worse, but also drug distribution isn't that good because the gangs are afraid of getting infected. So everyone is switching to alcohol. We're seeing alcohol use disorder just pile in right now. If you look out in your own streets, your city streets, look around, you'll see bottles everywhere. The homeless are all switching to alcohol too. So let me quickly go to you guys on Restream. I'm watching you. I'm seeing your comments. Let me just fill in some of the things really quickly before we go back to PJ and Darren. Mike asking, why didn't swine flu and bird flu become seasonal? They thought they might, but they did not. COVID is a strictly respiratory virus, so it has a higher probability of being seasonal, like colds, right? Coronavirus cause colds. I'm trying to read some of your stuff here quickly. The volume is low, Susan, on PJ and Darren. So, Darren, tell them quickly about your book, too.
Aiming High, which is the name of the book, came out over about a year and a half ago. Thanks, by the grace of God, became an international bestseller, helped a lot of people. It's more or less the story of the hell of my 24-year drug addiction to the beauty of spiritual recovery, why I've been blessed to manage and represent some of the biggest icons in the world the past 50 years. And as I like to say, it doesn't matter if you're from Park Avenue or Park Bench or went to Yale or jail, that addiction doesn't discriminate.
No.
And I felt owning my own agency and getting the support from people like you and Magic Johnson, Rosa Forward, and Hulk Hogan and Jeannie Buss and Mark Cuban and Dennis Rodman supporting my mission. I knew I can come out and embrace it because, I myself found out from adversity in life comes your greatest strength. As PJ as well has suffered, obviously, tremendous heartbreak. And no matter what it is that you go through, you can come out on the other side.
Hey, Darren, our mutual friend Dennis Rodman, how is he thinking about the Michael Jordan documentary? Did he have any thoughts about that?
I mean, he's loving it. The Last Dance has been absolutely epic and incredible. And I don't think he saw the finale last night, so I'm waiting to hear from him because there was a lot of nuggets, as they like to say, that I know he didn't know. It was the first time Jerry Reinsdorf came out and talked about why they didn't, go for a 4 PE and some other things that I know Dennis would find fascinating. But it's kind of just rejuvenated his whole career. All of a sudden he's front and center of the world again, and people are realizing that he had this gift to be the best at what he did, on the court, and made his own rules off the court. And as you know, sometimes he's still making his own rules. Good or bad.
I was going to tell you, I was going to call you, Darren, because I spoke to the mayor of Newport Beach, which is where Dennis lives, and Newport was singled out by the governor of California with onerous beach restrictions. And I told the mayor, I'm going to call Dennis and I'm going to go out there and we're going to walk down the beach and see what happens. I really wanted to do that.
Yes.
I think it would have been incredible, but we never got to that.
There's nobody. Yeah, there's nobody. When Dennis and I went to lunch last year after his 35th birthday, I mean, he's got such love and respect and admiration for you. You guys have such a history, and you get through to him like nobody else. He'll look you in the eyes, and
I love
he'll tell you the truth.
And I'll remind you that when early in our relationship, it was quite tense. But he looked at me and he said, "No, we're going to have a relationship, but you got to fight for it. You got to craft it." And I was like, "All right, I'm willing to do that." and he was right.
He's adorable.
He was right. We eventually had a relationship, and we still have one to this day. And it was great at your birthday party, seeing his daughter now is like a adult, and his ex-wife who seems like she's doing great. Just remarkable.
Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah.
PJ,
his daughter's doing amazing.
Yeah.
Number one soccer recruit in America.
Oh
yeah.
My God. Yeah, she seemed like an athlete.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's something. So, PJ, back to your story. Your stuff started with 9/11, right?
Yeah. It's I'm an Army veteran, and I'm a retired New York City fireman. But this isn't my daughter who's 27. She was 5, right? Now, I wasn't working that day, but when the planes hit, I had my then 3-year-old son Dustin was literally dying from leukemia. The news was on. I saw the news with my wife at the time, Elisa, and Dakota's 5. My son Dean was like 1, and I had, like every other fireman, I picked up my helmet and I headed to ground zero. And my daughter, this is her 9/11. I mean, there's opportunity here that is great. The country needs to be unified. Let's unify the country.
Yeah.
What her generation, politically, this is not politics. In not one which way, shape, or form. I was raised by Kennedy Democrats, but I'm the biggest supporter of President Trump you'll ever meet in your life. I don't. Everyone has their right to an opinion, but right now we need unity. And these wristbands, believe it or not, they're going to do that. They're going to raise a lot of money for 3 very worthy charities. We're helping people that are in dark spots. We wanted these people to wear these wristbands. I heard you speak of NAD. You're going to be talking about NAD later. Okay. Well, my wife Kathleen's brother, he is a Yale medical doctor. He is on the front line. His son Tyler just graduated UConn. They couldn't have a graduation due to this virus.
Yeah.
His youngest son Kyle graduated high school. Could not have a graduation. So we need these people to be honored. They're on the front lines every day. Dr. Drew, you're a doctor. And when I heard you mention you're going to be talking about NAD, her brother Kevin is one of only, I think at the time, 6 or 8 doctors. He's been using NAD, treating people for a long time.
Interesting.
If you ever needed somebody to speak to that, he'd be right up your alley as well.
I may ask him because that's
a golden opportunity.
Yeah, interesting. I may ask you to send him us because that's a really interesting kind of treatment. And there are people joining the stream now. They're asking I should reintroduce my guest. It's PJ Schrantz from America Strong. They have a wrist challenge. You can go to americastrongusa.com and be a part of it. And of course, we have Darren Prince with us, who is the brains and are you officially the CEO? Is that your title there?
Yeah.
CEO of Aiming High Foundation, which is designed to provide resources for people struggling with addiction. And this is a time where we're going to see a lot of that, particularly on the alcohol front. I'm telling you, that's the drug that is emerging from the COVID crisis. Okay, guys, I want to let you go. Is there anything else we want to say before I cut you loose?
I just want to say, if I can, thank you to all the essential workers, frontline, all the military, first responders. We're here. We support your efforts. We all think about you. Dr. Drew and Darren, both of you on the front line every day helping people. I want to thank you. I want to thank Susan for, we're so grateful to you right now. Please go to americastrongusa.com and take the wristband challenge. Hey, Darren, I love you, brother, and catch up soon. Dr. Drew, thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, and Darren, I may call you if Newport doesn't get out from under the thumb of the governor. I may call on our friend Dennis to go take a walk with me. All right?
I want to videotape
Perfect.
it.
I'll be waiting for the call. Thank
All right,
you guys.
buddy.
You're all
Good luck.
heroes to tell the veterans. I appreciate the support.
Fair enough. America
God
Strong.
bless
Have
you.
a great
Thank you.
night.
All right, guys. AmericaStrongUSA.com is where I want you to go. So I'm looking at your guys' stream now. People are making an issue of Trump's doctor prescribing hydroxychloroquine and zinc for him. That is not a surprise to me. That is just a general medical practice right now. There's a lot of it being prescribed, and doctors are doing it based on their experience, their risk-reward analysis, right? The risk-reward, as I've said, I've prescribed thousands of Plaquenil prescriptions, hydroxychloroquine prescriptions, never seen one side effect. So if I were giving a medication that I felt very comfortable giving, it would be that medication. I've seen more Tylenol problems, frankly, than I have seen hydroxychloroquine problems. I've seen more aspirin problems than I've seen hydroxychloroquine problems. And there's evidence that it might have some prophylactic effect. If I were taking care of an important official, I might give them that with some zinc. I would take it myself if I were going to the front lines while we wait for the peer-reviewed data to come out. So we'll see. I'm also taking some escalated doses of True Niagen that may have some benefit on that as well. That's me personally, I'm doing that. But I've been persuaded that the NAD, as PJ was talking about, is an important metabolic intervention that we're just learning a lot about. Okay, I want to look at your guys' questions here on the stream. Listen, to say, here's, I want to address, I can't see your name, it's too dark. He says, it was not his doctor's suggestion. Trump suggested it as a doctor, and the doctor complied. That is not how doctors approach suggestions by patients. When my patients come in, you can imagine it happens all the time. Because of the way things are out there on TV ads, it happens all the time. I want the purple pill. I want the blue pill. What is that Humira I keep hearing about? People come in and they want the things that the brands that they become familiar with. My job is to sit down and tell them the risk-benefit analysis, all the other brands in the category, what I would recommend, and then the patient and I together make a decision. So that, I assure you, somebody of the quality of the physicians in the White House, that's, I assure you, how it went down. Let's see. 300 testosterone level, ready to start TRT. Listen, that's Dale. Dale, I would not do that unless you talk to an endocrinologist. If that's an endocrinologist prescribing it, then follow his or her direction. Why Colorado, the death rate has plummeted to almost zero, though COVID diagnoses have been flat for about a month. That is a sign that's either a fluke or inaccurate, or a sign that we as physicians are doing a better job managing this thing so people aren't dying so often. And that's what we're going to see for sure over time. Does the stress of quarantine affect libido? Yes, it could. You're taking 9/11 docs told me to take Cipro prophylactically after I was exposed to meningitis. Yes, that's what you would do, and it can give you diarrhea. That's something. I'm 47 on TRT. That's, again, if you're working. Do not assume that your symptoms. Again, there was a big research study that came out recently that said just because people have symptoms and lowish testosterone doesn't mean that those two things are correlated. And we are rushing people to testosterone replacement with very limited evidence that it's the right thing to do, and not doing the full workup on what's causing the low testosterone. So that's what I'm very concerned about. Also, people yesterday asked, or day before actually, asked about the Cochrane analysis published out of Harvard, the head of the addiction program at Harvard, John Kelly. I've been waiting for this Cochrane analysis for literally 3 years. It came out in the middle of the COVID mess, and so you haven't heard about it, but it's an outstanding review of all the available evidence on the efficacy of mutual aid societies and 12-step, and it shows quite convincingly, I would say categorically, that the meta-analyses, looking at all the meta-analyses together, that the 12-step interventions work as well as, or better, particularly if abstinence is your goal, than any other professionally managed treatment. I'm not saying you should avoid professionally managed treatment, but I'm saying we should be ordering community-based 12-step because it is available on every corner and it is free. And when you talk about the cost of healthcare, here's something that is evidence-based and free. And if we attack that, there's something wrong with us. So let's see, a curve has flattened in Canada. Past your peak. I think pretty much everybody's past the peak. I mean, I worry a little bit about Connecticut and Massachusetts, but I think pretty much everybody. Let me go. But I don't have updated data. We're a week out from the University of Washington data that I rely on so strongly.
Must be boring.
Must be boring, the data. It's either that or it's changing so quickly it's hard for them to get an average going. You know, before they can get a trend line, they have to make sure they're not just seeing some random variation. I keep clicking on it, hoping that there will be an update while I'm sitting here talking to you guys. It's somewhat unrealistic. But let me go to Colorado since you were asking about that. Colorado is very definitely on the downslope of testing. They have begun moving about and have been moving about they have on here the cell phone data so they can see how people are moving around the state. And since mid-April, people in Colorado have been moving about, and it has had, from what I can see here, no effect, if no measurable effect on the case rate. The death rate needs adjustment. It's peaked out at 40 per day. Now it's around 19, so it's continued to drop in half. And the hospitalization rate is way down. You're well below you're much like California. You have about 4,000 cases, and wait a minute, this doesn't look right. That's 4,000 total cases, and there are 500 cases and 5,000 beds available. So you overshot by a factor of 10. So you made it through with never exceeding 5,000, beds needed, 900 cases. You had several thousand beds available, and you overshot by a factor of 10. So my question has always been, given that we flattened the curve so profoundly, which the goal of flattening the curve was to prevent overwhelming the healthcare system and stretch out the epidemic a little bit, give us time to come up with treatments and vaccines, maybe there could have been an intermediate way of doing it. And why are we so focused on the lockdown? That's the part I'm struggling with. No one can tell me why lockdown is the only, given that there's no scientific evidence that lockdown is superior to social distancing and wearing masks, why the clinging to the lockdown? Especially when you're seeing states open up rather liberally and trusting people to be adults and continue to, make sure they wear their masks. You're seeing the cases continue to fall off rapidly. I don't know. 12-step is crap, Jesse. That is simply not true. That is, you are flying in the face of science. I would refer you to John Kelly, at the head of the program at Harvard University.
What'd you say?
Saying the 12-step is crap. So if you should argue with Miss Dr. Kelly. If you think you have more to say than the head of a program at Harvard, go at it. Andrew's talking about Texas there. Shall I look at Texas? But I don't know updated data, so it's all sort of inferential what I'm giving you right now.
It's always slow on the Mondays, because I think they do it like the day before.
You're not on mic, so
I think they do it like the day before, because it's always slow on Mondays.
No, I'm always waiting for it on Monday, and then it comes out like at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Texas had kind of a weird curve where they are expecting a little bump up in the daily death rate. That's probably because they were seeing the movements. Let's see. And because of that, they put a little bump in the estimated cases as well. However, the hospitalizations is still very flat. So let's see if that doesn't get adjusted down a little bit, given that the hospitalization rate is so low. How's my caffeine intake? Very high. Matter of fact, very high.
Me too. But we're old. We need it.
Monica Ricci, that may be true about the lockdown. But I will tell you, the CDC never recommended lockdown. I always said, just listen to the CDC, listen to Dr. Fauci, do what they tell you. But your governors decided that a lockdown was necessary. Good idea, I would say, in New Jersey and New York, for sure. Question is, did we need to do it here in California? I'm not, I personally, I felt like it was a very hard decision for our leaders, and I'm glad I didn't have to make that decision, but that it was our obligation as good citizens to follow the leaders on this. And we did it on behalf of one another, and I thought that was fine. But I felt it was an overreaction, and now that it's the data sort of bearing that out, that we overdid it by a factor of 10, at least in most states, maybe it's time we considered other science, which suggests that masks and social distancing are equivalent to lockdown, or at least not significantly less effective. So we'll see. Alex, who said the numbers are very high in California? What are you looking at there? Because that's not the numbers I'm looking at. In fact, I will tell you, I have, if you look at the COVID tracking project, which is a pretty good data source. Let me go to California very quickly. The death rate dropped rather dramatically, if I get that right. Let me make sure I have that. Colorado, sorry. Here's California, historical data. Looking at today, the death rate dropped. Let's see, it generally was about 70, 100, and then all of a sudden drops to 40. So the death rate is down today. The positivity rate is 2,000 new cases, 1,000 new cases, 1,500 new cases, 1,500 new cases, 1,500 new cases. So it's been about the same in terms of people getting sick. It's been a drop in terms of the death rate, which means as a lagging indicator that we should see some improvements. Give me a moment to go back to the stream and look what you guys are talking about. Thank you, Jeans. Yep. Governor of Texas open to phase 2. Okay, it's dropping. Good. Pennsylvania, yeah, but Pennsylvania has kind of a rough bit of data. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. The connection between COVID and blood pressure meds, none. There was concern for a minute that the angiotensin converting into the ACE2 receptor site might be upregulated, which is upregulated by people on ACE inhibitors and ARBs, but it also impairs the virus ability to be absorbed into the cell at the same time. So the professional guidance is do not change your blood pressure medication. I'm on an ARB personally. I'm also on Pepcid. There was some evidence that Pepcid might be helpful, not a bad thing to do. And then zinc, everyone's been talking about, and vitamin C and vitamin D. Connecticut open to hair salons. Let me look at Connecticut. Again, I don't have updated data. Let me see if I can find something of the... sorry, guys. I'm trying to find the COVID tracking project again. Here we are. Let me go to Connecticut, if you'll give me a second. Takes just a second to figure out what is up. Connecticut, there we are. Connecticut. Okay, so you were, in terms of new cases, you were at about 700 new cases a day, 1,000 new cases a day, something like that. Hospitalization rate has held very steady, and the death rate has held very steady too, at around only 40 today, 70 the day before that, 50 the day before that, 70 before that. So it's dropping. It's in Connecticut, is dropping.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Currently
I think
hospitalized
we're all
920.
dropping.
Yeah, everything's dropping for sure. And then we don't know, is that seasonal?
Well, they said May 15th, and then they were still.
Well, not in California.
I know, but they said a month ago, they said May 15th.
Yep.
So they were right. Let us go free.
Yeah, nursing home it's clearly been the worst. And again, everyone should be thinking about whether they ever want to be in a nursing home, and discuss that with your family, and discuss what your end of life suggestions or requirements are, and put it in writing. Put it in writing. What's that, Pearlie? I don't quite know. Get it on, Shane. Thank you. All right. I pretty much said all I want to say today. Susan, is there anything else on your front?
I don't know. I'm tired. I had a long week. We've worked every single day.
Yeah,
so.
we've done a stream every day.
My opening was really, really bad, and I apologize, but I need a nap. It's been a long week. We had a great show yesterday, so we're gonna.
Yeah, that was a.
And I have some people lined up for this week, but
let me tell everybody that good job providing food to people in need, but we overshot on that one too. Nobody went hungry, but there is going to be a shortage of blood products. So please contact your local Red Cross, find out where the blood mobile is, and do give blood. Please give blood. All right. Just got called into Fox
I agree.
11 News early. So
Fox News. So check them out on Fox News tonight.
Yeah, I'll be there at 6 o'clock. I'll be on the 6 o'clock hour.
Oh,
and then Ellis Michelson and I will be doing a special we do every day at 7 o'clock Pacific time. And it's been a pleasure to do that. He's been great to work with. My producer is somebody I worked with years ago on the Today Show, and he's been great. And the whole organization over there has done a great job.
It's been fun for you.
And it's been it's really kept me abreast of what's going on locally, particularly as far as this whole.
Well, you went from KBC to this kind of a transition.
I guess that's true. You want to talk about the death rate? There's a lot of controversy going on there on whether or not let me just review it very quickly before I sign out. That we're clearly overestimating the amount of COVID deaths. If somebody dies of a gunshot wound and they have COVID, that goes down as a COVID death. But we collectively as a medical system with the government agreed that we would do that. And that was a way of enhancing the reimbursement for the care of the COVID patients. The government wanted to give the hospitals are in trouble now. They're not doing their usual procedures. They're not doing everything else they normally do to make money. They froze and took care of COVID patients. They're just slowly starting to get back to the things that we normally do. And as a result, we are overestimating the number of COVID deaths, but we know we're doing it. We consciously did it. Somebody needs to, a statistician needs to go back in and really, really look at whether or not, or how much of the data is being overstated. Cecil, you're saying that Joe Rogan and Elon Musk went over that last week. And if you did not hear Joe Rogan's interview with Elon Musk, I suggest you check it out. It was very good. Elon Musk is clairvoyant in his intellect. He's intellectually clairvoyant. He can see things because of his smarts that all of us don't see. He's another guy you might want to follow when it comes to getting us out of where we are now. I did not see the LA County serology study. Connecticut, yep, I heard that. What is fraud, Jip? What is fraud? Tell us what it is and we can address it.
Fraud.
Yeah, it's fraud. Great. Very simple. Fraud.
Ooh,
Great.
you got Dr. Drew, didn't you, with that one?
Doctors always think they know better in regards to addiction. Jesse, there's a lot of my peers that don't understand addiction. That's an unfortunate reality. They're not trained in it. And you have to see a lot of it to really understand how it works. Where can you find me? Pearlie's asking, go to drdrew.com. I do a show called Dr. Drew After Dark. I do a podcast. I do one with Adam every day. And then Fox 11 every night at 7 o'clock here locally in...
We have it all together at drdrew.com.
Yeah, you have to click around a little bit, but you can find it all there.
Try to keep it up to date, too.
What is Jip saying? All I get is little snippets of him saying asterisk it. I don't know quite what it is.
It's a millennial.
Elon is a vector for what, Monique? Elon for information or... Yes, it was a great pod.
The one yesterday?
Yes. What do I do with a person who lies to the therapist, psychiatrist? That is actually a really good question, Butch. What do I do with somebody who lies to the therapist, psychiatrist? Well, first of all, when we're in mental health, we know people lie to us all the time. And rather than get incensed when people lie, we try to figure out what reality is. And over time, people usually start to come clean and come clean. And our job is to jump on that when we hear those moments of clarity and honesty and sort of expand them. So most therapists and psychiatrists know how to deal with that. If you want, you can always call that doctor's office, leave a tip, because they won't be able to talk to you because of HIPAA laws, but leave a tip on their answering machine or with their staff on what you're observing. That can be very helpful as well. The doctor won't be able to do anything with it with the patient, but it may put him or her on alert. What's the brand of thermometer I have? It is a Bercom, Berrrcom, from Red Hawk. Red Hawk, same guys that make the needle destruction device. They are distributing masks, thermometers, and of course our needle destruction devices.
To first responders?
You're saying Jip is a knucklehead.
They're all making fun of him.
Yeah, I don't know what he said yet.
I know, we can't understand.
Okay.
You have to make a full sentence.
Yeah, Monique, it's rare that people have unabashed candor when they speak to a physician. It's rare. It's really our job to sort of sort out what's true and what's not. Jeff, I talked much earlier about hydroxychloroquine and zinc for the president.
He's taking it every day.
Are routinely prescribing that medication, so it does not surprise me.
So he's taking
it. How about Moderna? That's a good one.
I didn't know that until I read it.
Yeah, Moderna is the RNA virus, the RNA group that's creating the vaccine. My understanding is they're going rapidly into phase 3 clinical trials, which is light speed, everybody. And I've heard of some, in fact, I'm working with some other guys that have technologies that may be able to help them speed it up even more. So based on how things are going, I think there's promising outlook that we could have a vaccine, certainly by 2021, possibly for some groups by the fall. So this is really, really, really good news. So I'm sorry I buried the lead on that one. I did not mention that, but phase 3 means you're giving it to lots of people, like literally tons of people, and watching its effect over time and making sure that no one has any adverse effects and no one gets the virus, or if they do, it's a small number.
It looks like so promising, but then I told Douglas this morning at breakfast, I said, make sure, I think it's not going to come out until January.
That's the expectation.
The headline made it sound like it was going to happen next week.
No. It's looking like January, but there may be something available in the fall, and that something could make a big difference.
Maybe for more concentrated areas.
Right, there could be ways of helping break out, isolate outbreaks.
Started in New York.
Should start a rehab company in Florida. The business of treatment right now to me looks. I don't know. I'm thinking about working again with Bob Forrest. Susie, you don't really know this. I'm thinking about going in and taking care of some of his patients for him.
Oh, that's nice.
Just because I like working with Bob and Shelley, and the three of us could reunite and run a program in Silver Lake.
Oh,
It's close
that's not
enough
too
to
far.
me. Yeah, and I could go in and see patients once in a while
yeah, why
and
not?
try to help them with that. So we're thinking about
Get
that.
you out of the house.
Thank you. The mutation rate, the mutation rates are accumulating on the virus, but it's not having a significant effect on its immunogenicity. I mean, the viruses always mutate somewhat, right? Okay, you guys, I'm going to wrap this thing up. Again, do check out americastrongusa.com and Aiming High Foundation. We will be in here. Susan will be in here tomorrow, yes?
Yeah.
Oh.
I just Stephen Adler just texted me. He texts me occasionally with his cute little pictures. He might
Does
be
he
fun.
want to come in tomorrow?
Yeah, and we also have that guy from England that wants to talk to you that Emily Barsh set up. So I have to,
Oh, yeah, I do want to talk to him. So tomorrow will be
I gotta call her.
sometime.
I'm barely waking up. I need another cup of coffee
All right, let's do that. You and I can have a cup of coffee.
or a nap.
No, let's do the coffee thing.
I think the nap and then the coffee.
So around 3 later afternoon tomorrow. And do look for Adam and Drew. We're out there. I sent Adam
Scott Adams. He'd be great.
Adam I will share with you if any of you are Corolla fans. I sent Adam a quote that came up on Twitter yesterday. And it was it was a quote from a guy named Bonhoeffer, who was a Nazi fighter. Let me see if I can find this for you. And I'm going to read it to you. And Adam went nuts on it. He went absolutely feeling, this is what I've been saying for the last 3 years. I can't believe this guy already had this thought and written it down. So, and Susan, you tell me if this sounds like Adam. Here it is. This is Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was hung by the Nazis after he went in and tried to deal with Nazism.
Uh-huh.
He left the United States. People begged him not to go. He felt he had to. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. One may protest against evil. It can be exposed and, if need be, prevented by use of force. Evil always carries within itself the germ of its own subversion, in that it leaves behind in human beings at least a sense of unease. So if you're evil, we kind of know it.
Mm-hmm.
But against stupidity, we are defenseless. Neither protest nor the use of force accomplish anything. Reason falls on deaf ears. This is Dunning-Kruger.
Mm-hmm.
Facts that contradict one's prejudgment simply need not be believed. Cognitive bias. In such moments, the stupid person even becomes critical. And when the facts are irrefutable, they just push them aside as inconsequential, as the post-structuralists tend to do.
Mm-hmm.
In all this, the stupid person, in contrast to the malicious one, is self-satisfied, and being easily irritated becomes dangerous by going on the attack. Think Twitter. For that reason, greater caution is called for when dealing with the stupid person than with the malicious one. Never again will we try to persuade the stupid person with reason, for it is senseless and dangerous. And I think the word stupid is kind of loaded these days, so I think that unfortunate that he used that word. But I would argue that we're rigid, and we are having engaged in deep cognitive biases on all sides. And stupidity is just a stand-in for a more of a word like resistant or unwilling. We need to be willing to look at and examine our own biases. And if we don't do that, we are being stupid, and we are engaged in all those activities that Bonhoeffer pointed out nearly 75 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see if you guys have any comment about that, or if I should. Literature and art is needed in these data-driven times. Yes, I agree with you on that. I found myself listening to a lot of classical music. Thinking of the Holocaust, very funny. I'm not going to explain that reference.
Somebody said to Instagram it.
Post the quote. That's
Instagram it.
Okay. All right, we can do that.
Get one of those backdrops and just
All right, I will
fancy
send it to
letters
Susan.
on it with pink flowers.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting thing. But I think unfortunate that we have the word stupid. I think it's more stupidity will bring the walls of the house down. Yeah, stupid's not the right word. It's really closer to ignorance, and we can all be ignorant, right? We can all be ignorant to a lot of things. Stupid implies some impairment, and I'm saying that we're all guilty of engaging in cognitive bias, and that we should be embarrassed by that. Frankly, we should be constantly checking ourselves. Okay.
I have a question. Okay, I got in an argument with somebody on Facebook during your show the other day.
Great.
And he was like, we have to stay home and we shouldn't go out and we should stay in quarantine. And he was being really aggressive about it.
Okay.
And it's like the people that want to stay home are are angry, but the ones that want to go out think they're healthy enough to go out into civilization want to go out. So we have a problem there.
Well, here's the problem.
And why do these people have to be so angry because
Well, that's the way it
other
always
people want to go out?
Here's the problem. You think you are self-righteous because you are engaged in a scientific basis for your opinion. You are not. There is no science that shows that locking down is superior to social distancing and masks. And in fact, the current evidence, as we experience in Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas, suggests quite the opposite, that it's as efficacious as a lockdown to wear a mask and social distance. The idea of a lockdown is a brand new idea that has never been used in human history before. I suggest you to look at an article we should also post, Susan, about the history of lockdown and social distancing from the New York Times, where they chronicle its history from 2006, when the first suggestion of lockdown was in a high school science project. And the father of that high school science project then published an article based on the high school science project, where they suggested that with influenza, which is a child-borne vector, children transmit influenza. COVID, children do not transmit influenza very readily. In a child-borne illness, closing schools could build a model for something like shutdown, though even they did not anticipate a complete shutdown with their models. It became a policy in 2006 under the Bush administration, and it became used by governors, not the CDC, not the actual infectious disease doctors. It was used by governors to deal with this epidemic presently. We don't know whether it was advantageous. I think it was a good idea. I do not object to governors doing that. They were in a very tough situation. But now, because we have no science to mandate it, maybe we should really think about other alternatives or some sort of loosening that is based in science where we watch the data very carefully. And so we can run studies in real time. I know that is dangerous, but we should all accept that a certain amount of risk is necessary. Certain amount of risk is appropriate. In medicine, all we do is do risk-reward analyses. We never eliminate risk. We don't do it. Every time we give you Tylenol, that's a risk. Every time you walk in our office, it's a risk. And we are accustomed to making adjustments on our risk-reward analysis. So to say one death is too many, that's not a risk-reward analysis. Risk-reward is to say how much can we tolerate before we back off of this particular policy, not don't change anything. That's not a risk-reward analysis. So I would say based on that and the science, I think we're in a pretty good situation where we might be able to open up. Plus, we don't know whether or not the things could get better in the summertime with the seasonality. There's no such thing as no risk. That's right. Yeah, hopefully it's not all political. 12 steps.
It's going to get worse.
Okay, guys. Well, let's wrap it up at that. We thank you for joining us, and I will see you tomorrow around this time. See you then. Hey, I just want a little thing. Somebody asked a great question. Did they do a lockdown in the 1918 Spanish flu? No, they did not. They've never done lockdown before. Guess what they used? Guess what they used with the Spanish flu? Masks. And they had nearly 100% efficacy with masks with the Spanish flu when they used them. The problem is people did not necessarily use them, and people were on, cruise on ships being deployed as coming back from the First World War and stuff. So the only time lockdown ever was used was in medieval times, and it made things worse. They stayed inside with the illness, and if you look at the data now, only one case in China was documented as being transmitted outside out of 3,500 cases. Usually what happens, somebody comes into the home, 5 people get it because they're locked in together, 3 to 5 get it. That's how we're transmitting it now, or in nursing homes. So this is a new phenomenon, everybody. I cannot stress that enough. So off we go.
Okay, my extra is as bad as my intro was, so here we go.
Oh,
and there's the happy, joy music, Drew.
There was no sign of what I said?
Did you hear it?
I did hear it.
It played on our end. I know it's playing on everybody else's end.
Happy, joy, it makes me happy, joy.
Okay.
Are you one of the millions with a health condition that requires you to use needles? If so, please listen. Disposing of your needles properly is a big responsibility. Accidental needle sticks in the home can injure family members, children, and even your pets. I am Dr. Drew Pinsky, and I have an easy solution for the safe disposal of needles and the end to accidental needle stick injuries. You may have heard about Sand Mini. The Sand Mini is the affordable, foolproof way to dispose of needles. It's FDA approved, and with Sand Mini, it is easy. Just insert the needle, press the button, and in seconds, the needle is incinerated. Now you have a needle that is completely safe to discard. No sharp points, no bacteria, germs, or pathogens. Make sure your home and business is sand safe. Every needle, every time. Go online right now and use our special promo code DREW2020 for our best offer ever on the Sand Mini. That's nomoresharps.com, and remember, use my promo code DREW2020 for our special offer.